Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, amazingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So tonight is Tuesday, May 17th, 2022. This is live stream 787. So in case this is your first time tuning in and hanging out, let me point out, super casual around here. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then taking a look at a game. Sometimes it's a board game, sometimes role-playing game. Tonight, we are actually going to dive on into the mystery game Methodologie, which is from Grey Wolf Games. And it is based on the Agatha Christie novel, The Murder on the Links. So golfers out there, take note. So we're going to take a peek at this in just a bit. Of course, once again, if you're not used to this stream, keep in mind we talk about the tabletop gaming news first. So if you are tuning in to take a peek at Methodologie, please keep in mind it'll be about 30 minutes, and then we will dive on in. Of course, if you are watching this 30 minutes or more after the stream ends, there are timestamps. They are in the show notes. You can jump right past the tabletop gaming news if you like, or depending on what device you might be using, those timestamps could be right in the timeline of the video, on top of the video that you're watching at the moment. So all depends on how you're watching this video. All right. So got that out of the way. Should mention, if you like this video, and of course, if you are watching live, you should be liking this video, especially if you're somebody who watches live all the time. Anyway, you should like the video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And when you do, don't forget, ding that bell. It will not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings, right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming look at the new Pathfinder Drift Crisis. I don't even think this is out in stores just yet. This is a May release from Paizo Inc. So stay tuned. This is on the horizon. We'll be diving on in and taking a peek. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you don't find here on the channel. That's right, got plenty of different game reviews that are all written reviews, never seen the light of day here on the YouTube channel because they're not videos. They're all written. And lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you happen to be a subscriber for 48 hours or more, you can take part in chat. So if you want to say howdy, or you got a question, a comment, by all means, please chime in. I will do my best to respond. So far, first out the gate tonight was the Madman. That's right. The Detroit City Madman is with us tonight. He is one of our chat moderators, too. John Vogel's with us. Giga Chadmesh is with us in chat as well. We also got Fleming Huron, our other chat moderator. So both of our chat moderators are in the house. So behave yourselves. And Coco B is with us as well. So chat is off and running. Very nice. Very nice. Let's jump right on into the news because the Euro game Paris is returning to print by way of Game Brewer. Oh, wait a second. What in the world? I've got these in the wrong order. Whoops. I knew something didn't seem right as I was putting things together. That's okay. Hey, it's a live stream. That's what happens. 2 new adventures and a lower priced entry point to AEG's Thunderstone Quest is up on Kickstarter. That is some pretty big news for a lot of people out there. Here's a skinny. Nature's Wrath, Quest 12. Radical trolls in the Deepwood seek to tear Thunderstone Keep and the surrounding area to the ground in a war that could mean the end of civilization as we know it. Then we've got Rotten Roots, which is Quest 13. An evil force has infested the treant that watches over the Deepwood. To save it, you'll need to shrink small enough to enter it and explore the world within. A little fantastic journey there, eh? Can you find the source of this plague and put an end to it in time? Also, we've got a new starter set, which is going to replace the Adventurer and Champion rewards from previous Kickstarters, and the retail base game that's been available to brick-and-mortar stores in the past. The starter set includes all the components required for up to 6 players. It includes the shared main board, the wilderness tile, and all the cards, tokens, and dice, and other components required for competitive play. Not cooperative, not solo. That is the Barricades expansion, which you can get a wee bit cheaper during this Kickstarter as well. The plastic figures from the previous Kickstarter rewards have been replaced with new wooden champion tokens. Starter set also includes quest number 1, a mirror in the dark. Like all quests, quest 1 includes approximately 350 cards, including support for Epic Thunderstone and 4th level heroes. The set also includes 6 dungeon boards, cardstock, and plastic dividers and randomizers. The box provides space for storage for its components and that first quest. Other quests are designed to be stored in their own boxes, or you can purchase super deluxe boxes a la carte in the Pledge Manager after the campaign if you'd like to consolidate your storage. There is a short, it's about 2 minutes long, Kickstarter video. It's going to tell you a bit more about these 2 new adventures. I got to be honest, I'm not positive if it mentions the new starter set or not, but at least you'll get to find out a bit more about the 2 new quests.
The wilderness is in turmoil. You'll need to brave the maelstrom in Deepwood Defenders. Deepwood Defenders contains 2 all-new quests for Mike Elliott's classic deck-building game, Thunderstone Quest. Not all are happy about the expanding borders of Thunderstone Keep. Connor Mall, a leader from the deep woods, has raised an army of followers determined to destroy civilization and let elemental forces reclaim Thunderstone Keep. You'll need to gather a group of heroes, specially chosen for both their love of civilization and their love of nature. For the goal is not to lay ruin to the elemental forces, but to return Thunderstone Keep and the surrounding wildlands to a balance before all is lost. Nature's Wrath features an all-new way to use Guardian Keys that can be added to any game of Thunderstone Quest. Deep in the wildlands, the towering guardian of the forest, known as Ashbrow, has taken ill, poisoned by Philiath, a jealous brownie aligned with demonic forces. Philiath's poison has infected several denizens of the Great Tree Ant, spreading disease in an attempt to destroy Ashbrow from the inside. Utilizing a mystical shrinking herb, your heroes must enter the microcosm that lives beneath Ashbrow's bark, a world sustained by his deep roots. These champions must remove the poison before it finishes its work, robbing the forest of its greatest protector. Thunderstone Quest is Mike Elliott's award-winning deck-building game of adventure and dungeon diving. Each quest has its own story and mechanical twists, but similar core rules so players can jump right into the action. If you're new to Thunderstone Quest, we have made it easier than ever to get into the game with our newly reformatted starter box. Just pick up the starter box and add as many or as few quests as you want when you fill out the Pledge Manager. And soon you'll see why Thunderstone Quest is one of the best-selling deck builders of all time. If you're already a fan, pick up the new quests and continue your adventure. Back Thunderstone Quest, now!
You can reserve copies of the 2 new quests for a $55 pledge, and also grab the new lower price entry into Thunderstone Quest for a $50 pledge through May 27th. Very, very short 10-day Kickstarter project here. Expected delivery is May of next year. So I have to laugh because when Elliot Miller and I first started the gaming gang, Thunderstone was one of our first games that we reviewed. We go way back with AEG. And it was funny. We always just sit there and be like, Thunder, Thunder, Thunderstone! I have the power! Yeah, back when we did that podcast, that silly podcast of ours. And I like Thunderstone. I have that huge, big monster cube that for the Thunderstone Quest, the Kickstarter edition that AEG sent me back in the day when it first came out. And I got to admit, I like Thunderstone Quest far better than either of the previous editions of Thunderstone. One of them is it's just so much more intuitive to play. Now, I enjoyed the original Thunderstones, but they got to there were parts of the rules present. For one, the rules presentation was not well done. That was a problem with AEG back in the day. And there were just some mechanics that just were real, I hate using the word, but you'll understand, fiddly. It'd be like, well. So I see the Madman points out that they've got the original Thunderstone, but they've never played Thunderstone Quest. You're going to have to check out the differences. Check out the review. It's from, I don't know, 3 years ago. Video quality is quite different, but still, I like it. I think it's very good. I only have the quests that came with it. So I don't have any of the expansions. I don't have any of the additional quests. I think it came with 6 quests. So there are a few quests that I am missing. I do not have the Barricade expansion, which includes solitaire and cooperative play, because it's actually competitive play in just regular Thunderstone Quest. But by all means, take a peek, and this gives you an opportunity to jump on board Thunderstone Quest without sinking over $100 on that massive cube. So it's a much lower price point to jump on in. All right, moving right along. As I started off incorrectly, by the way, the Eurogame Paris is returning to print by way of Game Brewer. Here's the latest. Explore Paris in the 19th century. Discover its renowned architecture and obtain the most eminent buildings in the right districts to achieve victory. Paris is a typical medium-weight Kramer and Kiesling Euro-style game with straightforward gameplay, short player turns, and an ingenious point salad mechanism. So if you don't know what point salads are, it means there are tons of different ways for you to score victory points. You mainly score points by obtaining the right buildings and collecting the right bonus cards. In Paris, you take on the role of wealthy real estate investors in the Paris of the 1900s. Paris is at the height of its transformation into one of the most beautiful cities in the world. After having successfully organized the World Fair in 1889, topped by the construction of the Eiffel Tower, and celebrating the centennial of the storming of the Bastille, Paris goes through a period known as La Belle Époque. The architecture of Paris created during this period ranged from the Beaux Arts, the Neo Byzantine, and Neo Gothic to Art Nouveau and Art Deco. It is your task to purchase some of these magnificent Parisian buildings in order to make a profit and invest in the development and upkeep of some of Paris's most iconic buildings and landmarks. Paris is for 2 to 4 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 90 minutes. It's going to carry an MSRP of $55 as it arrives in stores. So here's something I'm not sure about. Has Paris been out before for Game Brewer? Because I could have, well, I know I've done news pieces before on it because it's got such a unique look to it, especially since it's got the Arc de Triomphe in the center of the game board. And I have seen some online retailers show that they still have stock of this game, but distributors are saying that it's not out. So it's like, So my assumption is it's a new print run that's coming out for this. I like the art style quite a lot. I think it is very, very interesting looking. So it has a very unique look to it. And then, of course, that layout with all the different cards and the streets of Paris, it looks like very, very nice. And I have heard it's actually a pretty good game. Tessie Trekkie has joined us in chat. Welcome aboard, Double T. Good to see you. Moving on, let's talk about some role-playing game news because another bundle of holding launched. Talked about one last night. Now I'm talking about a new one. That's right, Monte Cook Games' Cipher system is currently featured in a money-saving bundle of holding. I've got the deets on the deal. Adventurer! This new Cipher 10A Mega Bundle marks the 10th anniversary of the founding of Monte Cook Games with a giant offer of tabletop role-playing games, source books, campaign settings, and play aids based on MCG's Cipher system. The Cipher rules that power games like Numenera and The Strange emphasize intuitive characters, fast and easy play, and narrative focus. For 10 years, these best-selling games have propelled MCG from strength to strength. See why for an unbeatable bargain price. For just $17.95, you'll get all 7 complete current core books and play aids in the Rulebook Collection, which has a retail value of $95, as DRM-free PDFs, including the revised 2019 version of the Cipher System Rulebook, plus its Cipher character portfolio, the twin core books, Numenera Discovery and Numenera Destiny, along with their player's guide, and the Numenera character portfolio, as well as The Strange. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $40.40, that may have changed. Keep in mind, remember, it's the threshold price changes. So when I wrote this a few hours ago, it was $40.40. You'll level up and also get the entire Worlds collection with 12 more titles worth an additional $159.50, including 4 genre source books funded in the July 2018 Your Best Game Ever Kickstarter campaign. Godforsaken, The Stars Are Fire, Stay Alive, and We Are All Mad Here. 4 campaign supplements from the February 2016 Worlds of the Cipher System campaign. Expanded Worlds, Gods of the Fall, Predation, and Unmasked. And 4 conversion guides that let you mix and match all the setting elements. These savings run through June 6th. 10% of your payment after gateway fees will be donated to the pandemic-related charity Direct Relief. Sweet. I got to be honest, till I saw this bundle, I did not realize that it has already been 10 years since the Cypher system came out and Monte Cook Games was formed. Yes, they were formed to release Numenera, if I remember correctly, but at right about the same time is when the Cypher system launched as a kind of a genreless, generic system. And I reviewed it. I reviewed the original Numenera as well. And I liked them. I thought they were pretty cool. I got to admit, the way Monte Cook Games was presenting Numenera at the time was, oh my gosh, it's going to be revolutionary. It was like, yeah, it's cool, but it's, not building a new wheel or anything like that. But this is a pretty sweet deal. Gotta admit, it's a bit pricier than a lot of the usual bundles of holding. I know that we have seen some humble bundles featuring Numenera only in the past, which seem to have been a lot more packed for the cash. But what this bundle is offering is all those new source books from the Your Best Game Ever Kickstarter campaign, which haven't been out that long. I think the last one that came out is We Are All Mad Here, and I don't think that's been out more than a year. So pretty recent releases in this cool bundle of holding. So there's some discussion going on about Monte Cook Games. Omanal has joined us in chat, pointing out Monte Cook makes some of the best internally hyperlinked PDFs of any publisher he's ever seen. Sweet. Tessie Trekkie says, I'm sold. And Omanal also points out that Predation is really cool. Dinosaurs and Cybernetics points out Tessie Trekkie. So a lot of these source books and that setting books I don't know much about. But I mean, I know Numenera, the Ninth World. I got to be honest, I'm not all that familiar with the latest edition, which came out a few years ago, about 3 years ago. With Discovery and Destiny as the core books. But once again, very, very unique setting. And this is a unique role-playing game system as well. It's not super crunchy. And a lot of cooperative world building, I think, as opposed to some other well-known fantasy games. On to our next news piece. There was some discussion about this in chat last night because Goodman Games has launched a Kickstarter for Original Adventures Reincarnated number 7, Dark Tower. Here's the scoop. This classic adventure is getting the full OAR treatment with reprints of the original module and an updated version for 5e. On top of that, there will also be a version that adapts the module for Dungeon Crawl Classics. OAR number 7, The Dark Tower, will be a slipcase 3-book set collecting old and new material. Volume 1 reprints the original module with introductions and historical commentary. Volume 2 is the 5e's rules conversion of the original adventure, The Dark Tower. And Volume 3 is an entirely new series of adventures entitled The Chosen Sons of Set, building on the concepts presented in the original Dark Tower publication. Ranked by Dungeon Magazine as one of the top 30 adventure modules of all time, Goodman Games is proud to be working with Janelle Jacques to bring her classic adventure to life for a whole new audience. The desert sands are stirring. Something has risen from the dunes, threatening the world with a looming shadow. Kickstarter for Original Adventures Reincarnated number 7, The Dark Tower, has launched. And streaked by the first few stretch goals, in fact. Act now to get in on some early bird bonuses, which I believe are still valid until, I think, the end of this evening. In fact, I'm sharing one of the bonuses that you get. It is a print from Janelle Jaquays. So you can get that. I think the first 100 backers got it signed. So you're out of luck as far as that goes. But when I took a peek at this was approaching the 3,000% funding mark. Yes, you heard me correctly. 3,000% funded. Although I got to admit, it had a pretty small goal. You can reserve a copy of either the 5E or DCC editions in hardcover slipcases for a $100 pledge. Or you can grab either one in PDF for a $50 pledge through June 14th. Expected delivery is June of next year. Yes. So here's what throws me off a little bit. Few things. First off, the original adventure is called Dark Tower, not The Dark Tower. I know for a fact. I was around when that came out. I was a gamer when that came out. I knew somebody who bought that adventure to run. I don't know if they ever did, but I do know they bought it at the local game store, one of the local game stores we had. So it's Dark Tower. They keep referring to it as The Dark Tower. The Dark Tower, I thought it was the electronic, like Milton Bradley game, which I think Restoration Games just, I don't know if I think they started delivering on that Kickstarter. So that kind of threw me off a little bit. The other thing is, I thought the original Adventures Reincarnated lineup was reserved for TSR modules. I thought it was an agreement with TSR. Now, I do know Goodman Games does have a relationship with some of the folks over at Judges Guild, which is who published Dark Tower originally. I mean, I'm super cool with it. I just thought it's a little odd that the 7th volume of Original Adventures Reincarnated is not a TSR module. It's a Judges Guild module. So, kind of odd. But, got to point out, $100, 3 volumes. Pretty good. The Temple of Elemental Evil, which we are going to be taking a peek at my review in June, because I've been holding back for that big role-playing game month, had 2 volumes. That, I believe, the MSRP was $100 as well. So you're getting quite a bit of content. I got to be honest, though, that whole volume devoted to the original adventure, it's overkill, in my opinion. Because they're going to include like 3 versions of it. So, hey, the other thing I was going to mention is I'm kind of curious because if I remember correctly, and remember, I didn't own Dark Tower. I knew somebody who had bought it. Weren't there some parts of that module that were a little iffy to run? I would wonder if I would be kind of curious if they would keep that stuff in. I don't know. A little edgier than we're probably used to, I guess. Omenal points out as a Judges Guild module, they're allowed to make a PDF with it. Wizards of the Coast won't allow them to make PDFs on TSR modules. Yeah, that I knew. That's why we don't see the first 6 volumes of Original Adventures Reincarnated in PDF legally. So, yeah. Anyway, I like Goodman Games. And I keep bouncing around when we're finally ironing out our like fantasy role-playing game group. I keep bouncing around, maybe wanting to use Dungeon Crawl Classics. I'll talk a little bit about that when I wrap up the news. My final news piece. The Traveler role-playing game has received a new supplement For the mercenary setting, here's the dope from Mongoose Publishing on Specialist Forces. Specialist troops. Come on, what's going on? There we go. What's going on with the teleprompter? Let's go, move it. Specialist troops offer advantages the wise commander can exploit or prevent the enemy from using their own advantages. Anti-armor and anti-aerospace specialists level the playing field for other troops, whilst recon experts provide vital information and commandos take advantage of it. Specialist forces present information on these experts, along with rules governing the functions and equipment for their use. Mercenaries hope they'll never be confronted with chemical or nuclear warfare, but if they are, this volume has the necessary information. It also covers the operations of specialist formations, ranging from armored infantry to security formations and intelligence commandos. The unique world of Star Mercs is also explored with information on the operations and equipment undertaken by forces whose primary asset is a starship. Modules for converting a conventional ship to a mercenary transport are presented, along with special mercenary tickets. Inside this PDF, you'll find special operations and special forces, combat specialists, reconnaissance and stealth specialists, engineering and heavy weapons specialists, protected forces, non-combat specialists, security and intelligence specialists, a lot of specialists, star mercs, boarding actions, mercenary vessels and modules, and do want to point out, you need to have mercenary for Traveler from Mongoose Publishing in order to use this. The 152-page PDF is available right now at DriveThruRPG for $29.99. So if you are looking to have a much, much more military-themed campaign for Traveler, Mercenary, and obviously Specialist Forces are someplace for you to look. Got to point out, say this all the time with Mongoose Publishing, outside of their intro, their like starter intro to Traveler, their PDFs are just way overpriced. They just are. Mongoose Traveler is pretty good though. I do like what I've seen of it, but yeah, their PDFs are pretty pricey. All right, that is it for tonight's news. Coco B points out they were hoping for the Lost Caverns of excuse me, as the next original adventures reincarnated. But the DCC version of Dark Tower has their interest. Omenals points out that they had pledged for the DCC version. I got to be honest, I would too. I would do that as well. Because to me, it's still, I know Dungeon Crawl Classics is not OSR. I don't really care about, how things are tagged, right? Oh, that's OSR. That's not OSR. That's new SR. AD&D second edition. That is not OSR. You'll burn in hell if you think that. I'm not into labeling things, but I would probably go with the Dungeon Crawl Classics because I would find that so much easier to port over to maybe whatever OSR-ish system that I wanted to use. All right. So anyway, so we're finally ironing out who's going to be playing in our, like, every couple of weeks, our fantasy role-playing game that I'm going to run because, I'm the forever game master. It's just how it works. And I'm still up in the air on what I want to use. I don't, okay, so here's what it's down to. So it's down to Dungeon Crawl Classics. And one of the reasons is because I really like the luck attributes. I like how the heroes have mighty deeds. It's got way too many tables for each and every spell and things like that. That's what kind of stops me there. But I do like Dungeon Crawl Classics, and of course, you can check out my review, and you'll see, what I like. Also, Old School Essentials, Advanced Fantasy. I've been bouncing around using that. I've been bouncing around using Adventurer Conqueror King. I have the Hyperborea Kickstarter stuff coming, which I think is supposed to arrive sometime around July or so. So I'm, yeah, kind of up and down what I want to run. So I want to try to stay rules lighter. That's why I'm not just saying, oh, well, what the hell? Just bust out Osric or first edition AD&D. I don't want to get that far into the weeds. So, but I do want to have some rule structure. I had originally considered Black Hack, but Black Hack's a little too light for my personal taste, although there's a lot of stuff I think is very cool. Also had received from my friends over at Modifius Entertainment the index card role-playing game, which we are going to take a look at on the first show of June. We are going to kick off our fantasy role-playing game month with a first look at IC RPG. So, and this is the Master Edition. So it's supposed to have a lot of extra content in it. So we'll be taking a peek at that. So yeah, I actually, amazingly enough, I was talking to my brother because we played some games this past weekend. And I said, hey, would you be interested in playing? And he said, yeah. I was like, oh, he's going to play a role-playing game for the first time since 1978. All right, anyway, I was talking about Drive-Thru RPG there during the last news piece. Please keep in mind the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, Drive-Thru RPG, please stop by thegaminggang.com. First, click on one of our banner ads. You may notice there's a little bit of a different design to the Gaming Gang website. It's pretty similar to how it's been for years now. But the banner is a little bit lower. It's underneath the main website banner. And then there's some other little like square banners and things like that throughout. Anyway, please click on one of those, because if you do and happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. All those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep the gaminggang.com around. There is also a poll currently going on the community page for the Gaming Gang YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now, asking, what do you enjoy covered? Board games, role-playing games, or do you enjoy both equally? And when I looked last, role-playing games is running away with it, over 50%. And I think it had like 70 or so votes at that point. So over 50% role-playing games, around 25% saying they like both equally, and less than 20% board games. So as I had mentioned before, you're noticing a shift more towards role-playing games, and you can kind of see why. I also noticed that the role-playing game coverage gets far more views. Not always, but usually gets far more views than the board game stuff. And I think one of the reasons is because there are so many people out there covering board games. And, I don't have the corporate backers that they have. So, anyway. So, yeah. So, I thought that was kind of interesting. So, if you have not voted, please do vote. Of course, should also mention, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, you can always buy me a cup of coffee or some soda. by swinging on over to paypal.me/the gaming gang and making a small donation. And a big tip of the cap to our two most recent donators. That sounds weird. The Madman, who is hanging out in chat right now and is one of our chat moderators, as well as Joshua Edwards. Thank you very kindly. All right, one other thing I do want to point out. If you missed it last night, and I was talking about probably having to replace the overhead camera at some point. Number one, I started the stream a few minutes late today because I was screwing around with it. But I had mentioned I'm going to have a nightly auction during the shows, and I am. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off the show, going to mention what's up for auction. You can make bids through chat. Just throw a bid out there. And then it's not only going to be during the show, because that's kind of, that's not cool to the people who can't watch live. But what we'll do is we'll actually run to see who's got the highest bid at something like, 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock the next day. They'll be the winner. I'll announce it on the following show and kind of take it from there. I think it'll be kind of cool. And all those funds are going to go towards a new camera. So I'm not doing this. So I'm like, hey, man, thanks for the dough. It's going to get invested back into the site. And what I'm probably looking to do is probably be looking at the Sony infrastructure, the Sony systems, even though the overhead camera that gives us problems is a Sony. There's just so much. I like the Panasonic that I'm talking right into right now. As I mentioned last night, autofocus is horrible. It is terrible. And it's also a micro 4/3 sensor, so it's a smaller sensor. So if I'm going to get a new camera, it's going to be our overhead camera. It's going to basically become the A camera for convention coverage and things like that. Might as well grab me a Sony. All right. So David Weisberger has joined us asking about what poll is this? Yes, on the community page, there is a poll asking what people dig most. What coverage do they enjoy most? Flaming Huron says, I suppose the fact there are also 43% of the people who like both role-playing and board games alone means people still do like board games. Oh yeah, I'm not saying that I am going to discontinue covering board games. What, for one, and I've mentioned this before, I'm trying to get my best friend Elliot Miller to come back on board the gaming gang, because he hadn't been doing really anything on his website for a couple of years and had completely forgotten to pay for his hosting again. So everything that was on the website's gone. I mean, he still has YouTube videos, but the website itself is gone. So I'm trying to get him back on board so I can offload, as weird as that sounds. I don't mean it to sound like that, but more of the board game coverage to him. Anyway, all right. So David says, oh yeah, I did vote in that. So says that David's answer was about this coverage. Comparative advantage for this channel is definitely on the role-playing game side to their mind. Yes, I agree with that. Because number one, I would have to say, and I'm not like tooting my own horn or anything. I'm like, ooh, well, we have a lot of people out there covering, board games and that, and many of them are relatively new to the hobby. There aren't a lot of people out there with the same amount of experience with role-playing games as I have as a gamer doing this. So Tessie Trekkie asks, did I miss the auction? No, we're going to start that on next Monday's show. I'm just mentioning it. So, all right. So as I mentioned previously, we're going to be taking a look at Methodologie from Grey Wolf Games in just a moment. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
Have some Wilkins coffee?
Well, I say, I'll take some.
Surprising how many people are switching to Wilkins coffee.
The big ship foundered on the rocks, but the crew all got ashore. Then Fearless Fred dived in again and swam toward the wreck once more.
You'll never make it.
The waves are too high. But he made it back to land.
I had to return to the ship.
He explained.
For my toddy, the chocolate drink that's just grand. Toddy does taste grand. At the snack bar or at your car. During intermission, enjoy a toddy, the delicious chocolate drink in a can. Ice cold or steaming hot, toddy hits the spot with everybody. See how much better that popcorn or those hot dogs taste with toddy.
Delicious.
And now, on with the show.
Flaming Heron is correct. Those are some violent Muppets. Actually, it's just the one Muppet who's rather violent. The one being voiced by Jim Henson. So, hey, you guys are enjoying these intermissions a little too much. Omel says, hey, my favorite part. Really? The whole stream every night? That's your favorite part? Jeez, it's going to make me cry. And not in a good way. All right, tonight we're taking a look at Methodologie from Grey Wolf Games. It's designed by Justin Waggle with artwork provided by Lee Segara. This game is for 3 to 6 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 30 to 60 minutes. It does carry an MSRP of $45. It is available right now. Omenel says, yes, nothing makes me want coffee than more, I guess, than knowing a bunch of puppets will beat me with a bat. If you don't take the coffee, hey, they're serious about their Wilkins coffee. Yes, the madman says, we're here for the intermission, Jeff. Add that to the poll. Flaming Heron points out, viewership rises just for the intermissions. Of course, I just was yanking the plastic wrapping off this. I had this all lined up and not thinking, I just grabbed it and started pulling the shrink off. Take on the roles of suspect and sleuth from Agatha Christie's acclaimed detective novel, The Murder on the Links. I got to be honest, I've never heard of it. Use your little gray cells to gather evidence, eliminate suspects, and ultimately level an accusation. Methodologie features characters, locations, and objects from the original story, but the details are obscured and perpetually rearranged to preserve the integrity of the mystery. Explore this unique case from a new perspective every time you play Methodologie, and it looks like it's 2 phases. We've got the investigation phase and the accusation phase. So as I mentioned last night, we were taking a look at the outside of this. I like the art style. Very nice. So I see Sir Laurence Olivier's our killer right there, right? kind of looks like him a little bit. Okay, so we've got the rule book. Not a lot to it. Seems pretty short. So we get an overview. So it's basically the same thing that we just saw on the back of the box. So I have 18 character cards, 18 location cards, 18 object cards, one character board, a location board, and an object board, 6 player tokens, a scoreboard with 6 score tokens, and 90 target tokens. So giving us our game setup, we've got card anatomy. And so it's showing what set it belongs to, the value and type is based on the color in the circle and, of course, the number there. The rank of the card, name of the card, front door, and a bonus of who it scores higher with, I guess. Some cards have no bonus. The game of methodology is played in 2 distinct phases. Yep, we saw that. In the investigative phase, the players will reveal cards from their hands, then interrogate each other in order to eliminate leads. This sequence continues until each player only has 1 character, 1 location, and 1 object left in hand. In the accusation phase, the players will place target tokens to make accusations about the remaining cards in each other's hands. Any cards not correctly identified by major accusations will be scored when the game ends. So we've got presenting evidence, interrogating suspects, eliminating leads, and drawing conclusions. There's Hercule Poirot. Then we've got the accusation phase. At the end of the game, when the accusation phase ends, the game is over. Each player reveals the remaining cards from their hand and scores their point values, as well as any bonus cards, I should say bonus points, for card combinations. Cards eliminated during the accusation phase are not scored and do not count for card combinations. All player tokens are now flipped color side up. All target tokens are now evaluated to determine whether they were correctly placed. All correctly placed target tokens are now flipped color side up. Each player scores 1 point for each of their flipped target tokens. Track these points using the scoreboard and score tokens. Player with the most points has solved the crime and wins the case. If there's a tie, the tied players have revealed accomplices and share the win. Okay. And then on the back, it's showing us the highest scoring card combinations. Okay. So it appears it is Hercule Poirot who is our main character there. So we've got a few punch boards. So this is the player tokens here. There's our scoring board for tracking points. And you can have it that way, or you can have it this way. So then we have the colored side. That popped right out. That's die cut pretty nicely. Okay, so then we've got these other tokens as well. And these are really thick. This is very thick cardstock. All right, so here comes our character board, our object boards. And I think we have a location board. Got a deck of cards, as well as some baggies for when we pop all those tokens out. So here we have the character board. So all in all, we've got 18 different characters. I'll give you a closer look at these. See what we've got. It's Cinderella, a masked man. Paul Renaud. He's the client. All right. And then, so it looks like We've got investigators here and here. It's a very cool art style. And this is it's pretty thick too. So, and as you can see, it's treated. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. Should hold up pretty nicely. Okay, so then we've got objects or evidence, right? Or I think maybe it's just objects. So we have some evidence up top. We've got some trappings, toasted bread, as well as documents down at the bottom. Some more evidence up here and trappings. There we go. And then we got the locations. So it looks like each of the cards is being duplicated on these boards here. It's the ferry to Calais. All right. So those are the 3 boards that we're going to be utilizing as well. Then we've got the deck of cards. Well, let's see if... Hey! It actually, that tab... Well, no. Spoke too soon, but that's all right. For a change, the tab actually worked to open up the deck shrink wrap on it. Some of it's sticking to my hand. Okay, so we've seen these already on the boards. So characters. I certainly really do like this art style. I think it's very nicely done. It gives you that nice, British mystery kind of vibe to it. I was going to say, these location cards have quite a lot of detail in them. Right there, the Calais Express. That's a lot of detail in the artwork on that card. There's that ferry to Calais. All right, so now we have other locations. The tool shed, the fairway bunker, which is, I'll take a guess, that's where the body is found. Just a stab. And then we've got the evidence, some trappings. There's that toasted bread. It was poisoned. The golf clubs. I'm taking a guess. The murder victim was clobbered with a golf club. I don't know. Once again, I'm not familiar with this story. I got to be honest. I'm not overly familiar with most of Agatha Christie's stories, especially ones that I've never seen, the light of day is like films. All right, so there's the deck of cards. Once again, we've got some baggies here as well. I'm kind of curious about the mystery aspect of this. That's what I'm kind of curious about, because it seems to me this game is giving me a vibe of it's more along the lines of who ends up with the highest score of cards left in their hand at the end of the game, as opposed to, oh, it's a mystery and you need to find out who the killer was, and it could change every time you play. But once again, we're just taking a peek inside the box. I have no information about this game outside of what we have just seen. All right, but that is Methodology, The Murder on the Links from Grey Wolf Games. And I will have a review of Methodology in the near future. See, now, funny thing is, this is probably something that my mom would like playing. My sister-in-law would like playing, even though it's really doesn't strike me as it's a mystery. They would like the trappings of it. So, all right. Sweet. So, and of course, do want to point out the fine folks over at Grey Wolf Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But as always, neither I nor anyone else affiliated with Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. And I say it all the time. It's very important you know that. All right, let's swing on over to the other camera. So, on tomorrow's show, we are going to take a look at Zapotec from Board and Dice. Yes, this is another Mesoamerican game, I believe, which, as I pointed out before, Board and Dice just loves that theme. So we're going to take a peek at this on tomorrow's show. All right, that is it for this time out. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming first look at Pathfinder Lost Omens Knights of, it's something fall, isn't it? Last Wall. This just showed up today. So, in fact, I got a bunch of Paizo stuff. Every month, I always get a package that's just loaded up. So I've got the 2 new hardcovers. I've got the 2 new chapters in both the Pathfinder and Starfinder adventure paths. There's I think it's, if I remember right, let me take a look. I think it's a standalone Pathfinder adventure. It is Shadows at Sundown. I think I'm going to have Sammy do a review of this. So, or I have to reach out to the Madman's daughter, Samantha, who, if you missed it, her first review is up. It's of Weird Frontiers from, what is it? Stiff Whiskers Press. Got to talk to her about some other systems she might be interested in, because I know she likes horror, but all my reviewers like horror, including me. So it's like, can't be the only genre. Anyway, so once again, tomorrow we'll be taking a look at Zapotec or Zapotec or however it's pronounced. Anyway, if you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate that. If you were watching live and took part in chat, those are some bonus experience points for you that you have earned. Get ready to cash those in shortly. But of course, I know a lot of people out there, they don't have an opportunity to watch live. It doesn't matter if you watch live or on Memorex. It's important to me, and it means so much to me, that you're taking time out of your busy lives to watch any of the videos on this channel, be it watching live while we stream or watching after the fact. It's all good, and thank you very, very much. All right, everybody, I'll be back tomorrow, and as always, here's hoping each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.